All right, ready to dive into something totally new? You've sent us some fascinating stuff about botanical technicians, and honestly, I had no idea how much there was to it.
Right. It's way more than just gardening, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was picturing like peaceful greenhouses, maybe some potting soil, but this is serious science stuff.
Totally. And what's really cool is how it connects to these big global issues we're all facing. Climate change, making sure we've got enough food. Botanical technicians are right there on the front lines of all of that.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. So let's ditch this image of someone just watering ferns. What does a botanical technician actually do day to day? The RoleCatcher guide mentioned labs, greenhouses, even hinted at some Indiana Jones style field work.
You're not wrong to picture a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Think lab coats and muddy boots. It's this blend of hardcore science with, like, getting your hands dirty in the plant world.
So we're talking serious research here. The RoleCatcher guide mentioned analyzing plant properties, running all sorts of lab tests, putting together reports. Sounds like you need to be both hands-on and analytical.
Exactly. Imagine, like, one day you're out in the field collecting plant samples. The next, you're in the lab using some high-tech equipment to figure out what makes that plant tick, at a molecular level.
Whoa, so it's not just about identifying plants, it's like decoding their secrets and then using that knowledge to solve real-world problems.
Exactly. Let's say you're starting a new type of wheat that can survive with way less water. That could be huge for farmers dealing with drought.
That's amazing, but all that analyzing, reporting, experimenting, sounds like you need to be a pretty skilled communicator too.
Oh, for sure. Think about it. You might have to explain your groundbreaking research to other scientists or even present your findings to the public.
So we're talking about scientific detectives who are also like captivating storytellers.
Exactly. You've got to make that complex science understandable and engaging.
So what stands out to you as like the most important part of being a botanical technician, especially with all these global challenges we're facing?
Honestly, it's the potential to make a real difference. These are the people working behind the scenes to make sure we have enough food, discover new medicines, and create a more sustainable future.
It's like they're unlocking these plant-based solutions that could change the world.
Exactly. And that's a perfect way to think about it.
It's like they're holding the keys to a greener future, right? But let's be real, every career has its pros and cons. The RoleCatcher guide did a good job of showing both sides, I thought.
Yeah, it's definitely not all about, like, frolicking through meadows, collecting
Mm.
exotic flowers, although,
Well, that does sound kind of awesome.
yeah. And you've actually hit on one of the big pros the guy talked about, that connection to nature. Spending your days surrounded by plants, contributing to a healthier planet. It's no wonder people find this line of work so rewarding.
Yeah, it's like bringing the peace of a botanical garden into your work life, but with a scientific twist. And honestly, in today's world, that connection to nature feels more important than ever. The guide also mentioned the thrill of discovery. What kind of aha moments are we talking about?
Well, imagine you're trekking through rainforests, right?
Yeah.
And you stumble upon this plant that's completely unknown to science. Or maybe you're in the lab analyzing plant DNA, and you unlock the secret to its disease resistance. Every day has the potential for some groundbreaking discovery.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. Uncovering these plant secrets that could have huge implications for us humans. The guide mentioned botanical technicians might even be involved in developing new medicines or finding ways to grow food more sustainably.
Exactly. Think about discovering a new plant-based compound that could lead to a breakthrough cancer treatment, or developing crops that can thrive in drier climates, with climate change and all. Botanical technicians are doing some really vital work.
It's incredible when you think about it. But okay, let's be real for a sec. The RoleCatcher guide also mentioned some downsides. It's not all sunshine and roses, is it?
Right, right. It's important to have a balanced view. Like you said earlier, there's the physical aspect. Field work can be demanding, long hours, sometimes challenging conditions.
And even in a lab or greenhouse setting, you're on your feet a lot, maybe handling heavy equipment, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just physical stamina. The guide also mentioned potential exposure to allergens or even like harmful chemicals.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Some people are super sensitive to plant allergens, which could make working in certain environments tough.
Hmm.
And yeah, depending on the research, there might be exposure to pesticides or herbicides. Obviously, safety protocols are in place, but it's something to keep in mind.
Definitely something to consider. Another thing that stood out was that depending on where you live, job opportunities might be limited.
That's a good point. While plant science is a growing field overall, the jobs aren't necessarily evenly distributed. You'll often find more opportunities near universities, research institutions, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. Gotta go where the plants are. So, if someone was thinking about this field, what would be your, number one piece of advice?
Hmm. I'd say be really honest with yourself about what you're passionate about and what's important to you in a career. Do the rewards of working with plants, making discoveries, maybe even changing the world. Do those outweigh the challenges like the physical demands, potential exposure to allergens, maybe even having to be flexible about location? If the answer is a resounding yes, then this could be an incredibly fulfilling path.
I love that advice. Follow your passion, but with your eyes wide open. And speaking of paths, let's talk about the career trajectory for a botanical technician. The RoleCatcher guide outlined three main stages, right? Entry level, junior, and then senior. It's like climbing the career ladder, but instead of climbing, you're discovering cool plant stuff.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And at the entry level, it's all about building that solid foundation. What impressed me about the Role Catcher Guide was how it emphasized that even at this early stage, you're doing real hands-on work. You're not just like making copies and fetching coffee.
No way, you're jumping right into the research. They're assisting with experiments, collecting and analyzing data, even putting together those reports. The example profile in the guide talked about this entry-level technician who is researching and testing different plant species. They even had a botany degree. So it seems like this stage is about taking that passion for plants and giving it that academic edge.
You got it. It's that blend of knowing the science and then actually applying it. And that leads perfectly into the junior botanical technician level. This is where you start taking on more responsibility, more independence.
Less assisting, more leading, right? So what does that look like in the real world?
Picture this. A junior technician might be designing and running their own research projects. Maybe they're helping develop new protocols for the lab, analyzing data, and really digging into what it all means, even presenting their work at conferences.
Whoa, conferences already at that level. That's impressive. And the junior technician profile in the guide, they had a master's degree and experience with some super advanced lab techniques like DNA sequencing. Talk about a fast track.
It shows they're serious about leveling up their expertise. And of course, this all paves the way for the top rung, senior botanical technician.
The expert of experts. What does it take to get to that level?
Think of them like the conductor of an orchestra. But instead of music, they're orchestrating these complex research projects, designing experiments, wrangling huge amounts of data, mentoring junior staff, collaborating with people in the industry. They're the go-to authorities in their field.
And get this, the senior technician profile in the guide, they were publishing their research in those big scientific journals. It's like they went from learning the ropes to contributing to the global conversation about plants. Pretty inspiring.
It really shows the incredible potential in this field. You start with that basic knowledge and passion, and you can end up as a leading expert, shaping how we understand plants and all the amazing things they can do for us. And the coolest part is, this is just the beginning.
Right. This field is like a constantly evolving garden itself. As technology changes, so too will the role of a botanical technician. We've talked about some of those potential applications, like using CRISPR to engineer more resilient crops.
Exactly. Imagine using CRISPR, which is like this gene editing tool, to tweak a plant's genes, making it resistant to a specific disease. Or picture botanical technicians analyzing plant DNA to create personalized medicine tailored to a person's unique genetic makeup. The future is bright for this field for sure.
So many possibilities. It sounds like there's a place for everyone in the world of botanical technicians, from those just starting out to those pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely. It's a field ripe with opportunity.
Well said. It's been such a fascinating journey exploring the world of botanical technicians, from their essential work in addressing those big global issues to the incredible career path that's out there. If you're someone who's both fascinated by the power of plants and wants to make a real difference in the world, this field could be calling your name. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those curiosity seeds growing.